Hey everyone, today I'm unboxing a fairly unique product because this is a power supply unit from SAMA, and actually SAMA are very well known for their cases, but not necessarily their power supply units. Despite that though, this comes with a 5-year warranty, it's 80 plus gold certified and Cybenetics platinum, so actually it's got very good certification, and in this video I just wanted to unbox it. This is the white one, the G1000, and I just wanted to show off what cables you have, so let's unbox it. Right, so with the packaging removed, the first thing you can see is all of the data there in terms of what's outputted on different rails, all of the different, power supply models and things like that. So you can see the data there, and in the description as well, I'm going to actually put details about the test reports and things like that from Cybenetics, but that's the one side of the box, that's the other. That just says SAMA. So a nice, simple, clean box, actually. It seems more like a shoe box than anything else, and I don't say that as a criticism because this is nice, basic packaging, and I don't think you always need super flashy packaging, even if sometimes it's quite nice. But in this particular case, yeah, it's nice and easy. You don't need anything particularly flashy, in my opinion. Before I get into it too much, actually, the box itself weighs 2.55 kilograms, so yeah, that's not a bad weight actually. That's quite a good, it does feel quite heavy, and that's a good thing. It's not like, they skip in any corners, I guess, with the weight. So we've got that there. We've got a manual, which I'm guessing, yeah, tells us extra information. It's in different languages, so that's all fine. Let's put that to one side. Then you've got your actual cables. You've got your power supply cable as well. You've got obviously the screws. You've got some cable ties that say SAMA as well, so that's quite a nice touch. And finally, we've got our power supply unit, and it's all fairly well packaged. Nothing should really get damaged in transit with that, in my opinion. Let's actually look at the power supply unit quickly, and then I'll go over to the cables. So this is the power supply unit. Again, you're going to have data about what's actually provided on each rail and things like that. All fairly standard, and again, this is 80 plus gold certified. So on the side there, you've got the SAMA logo, and you've got the G1000 in the actual embossed text there. Hard to see, but that's kind of the point. Here you've got a big cooling fan, so that's always nice to see. Here you've got your power input and an on-off switch, and obviously you can see the internals there. There's no fan noise switch or something that some power supply units have, but that's not the end of the world in my opinion. And then you can see, QC passed. It was tested in June of this year and it's passed. So that's brilliant. They've tested it. And in terms of the actual what you get, you've got your 12 volt power, PCIe in, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. That is very nice. I'll talk about that in a minute. SATA Molex, 3 of them, and then the motherboard. And the reason I say that actually is quite nice to have all of these pins is, let's say that you've got quite a good high-end graphics card like the 5080, and then you've also got maybe a really good CPU that you're going to overclock, and you put it in a high-end motherboard that needs 2 CPU power pins. And what can happen in some power supply units is they only give you like 3 of these connectors, the CPU/PCIe ones. But then you're left effectively with just one other cable. So then let's say you've got a 5080 in my example, you're basically having to use the 12 volt power connector. And that can be clean, and I've suggested that in the past. But what actually sometimes people like to do is use the actual adapter that comes in the graphics card box. So with a 5080, you're going to have an adapter where you can plug in 3 PCI Express cables, 8 pin, and then that goes to one 12 volt on the actual graphics card. So some people would actually probably really like this particular PSU because you've actually got 5 of these CPU/PCI Express power connectors, and then you've got the 12 volt power, so you kind of got the best of both worlds. But that is the power supply unit. It's nice, it's clean, not amazingly flashy with RGB and stuff, but actually I don't think you need that. It's a power supply unit. If it's highly rated and it performs well and it gives you enough connectors, then that's all there is to it, in my opinion. So that's that. Now we'll look at the cables. So firstly, you've got your power cord. Obviously, if you're in Europe or America, it's going to look different. You've got that. You've got the screws and you've got the cable ties, which we spoke about earlier. So I'll get them out of the way. And now we can actually look at the cables themselves. And they smell quite good. I've seen somebody on a review, I don't think it was for SAMA, but somebody on a review was talking about how the cables smelled toxic. I think it was another make, it definitely wasn't SAMA. But basically, yeah, somebody said the cables smell weird. So since then, I've always smelled the PSU cables, and these ones are fine. They passed the smell test, if you wanted to know that. So in terms of the actual cables, you probably already know what you're getting based on the PSU, but I still wanted to show you. So you've obviously got this particular PCIe one. It's obviously the standard, 6 or 8 pin split, depending on what graphics card you need to power. Then you've got your SATA ones. Then you've got this, which is another PCIe one, and you're probably gonna have a lot of these. So I'm gonna put them over there. Then you've got your ones for the CPU. So obviously for these ones, make sure you plug these into the CPU bit and not your graphics card by mistake. So you've got 2 lots of the CPU one. Now you might only need to plug one of them in, like if you've got a mid-range CPU, in a mid-range motherboard, you might not need to actually have 2 separate power cables. You might get by with just one of them, but it's just worth knowing that you have that functionality and that power if you actually needed it. Next up, you've actually got the motherboard cable, so the big bulky one. These two go into your power supply unit. This bit goes into your motherboard. So we've then got PATA, which is slightly different to SATA. So yeah, if you need PATA instead of SATA, you've got those. Some power supply units don't give that anymore, so it's nice that SAMA are actually doing that. Then we've got more SATA. Then finally, we've got PCIe. So basically there, we've got 1, 2, 3 PCIe, 2 CPU, and then the 12-volt power one. Now, before I talk anymore, what I should say is if you had like an RTX 5090, the actual adapter in the box usually needs 4 PCIe connectors, and here you've only got 3, which isn't the end of the world in my opinion, because if you've got 5090, you're probably likely to just use, a 12-volt power. But yeah, if you had a 5090 and you wanted to power it, with the adapter and with 8 pins, you might not be able to do it with this, but to be honest, with 5080 and every other graphics card on the market, this is actually going to be fine. So yeah, it's got 12-volt power support or 8-pin support for the 5080 and below. That is worth knowing. The actual cables themselves, yeah, they're fine. I think they're all braided, but they stuck together. Yeah, every single one is like that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but let me get this cable out and I can show you what I mean. This is an example of the cable, and what you've actually got in this particular case is you've got all of these, which would be for the grounds essentially, and then you've got all of these, which are going to be for the lives. Then you've got your sensing pin, but whichever cable you've got, the main point is that the actual individual wires are stuck together. Now you probably could pull them apart if you really wanted, but it's not easy to do. Certainly, you may end up damaging a cable. So they are stuck together. Some people like the look of that, and certainly it means that you don't have like a massive bundle of cables, all over the place. You've then got to, cable tie and use cable combs and things like that. But other people do like individually braided cables. So yeah, it's up to you. You need to know that they don't have that. But obviously with something like this that goes into your motherboard, although it's stuck together like here, so it's stuck together here, when it actually comes to the end that goes into your motherboard or into your power supply unit, what happens is the actual cables come apart, which again makes sense because for a big bulky connector like this, you can't all have them, completely together. And that's pretty much it actually. So that is the SAMA power supply unit. Now I don't have like a full-blown PSU tester or something like that, which is why I'm going to link to the actual Cybenetics test results in the description. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up button and please subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.